In the Old Testament, we saw the form of God. It was a burning bush. He spoke. He was a cloud by day over the tabernacle. The form of God. But you see, there's no personality to it that's discernible. You can't conceptualize it in an intimate, personal kind of way. You see the awesome glory of God, but you can't, there it is. Wow, look at that. Man, look at that. At night, it's a pillar of fire. In Solomon's temple, it was smoke so thick that it couldn't move. In Ezekiel's vision, is a river until it's waist deep. Jesus said, no man hath seen the Father at any time. Moses saw the hinder parts of God. He saw the outline of God. He saw the form of God. But he never saw the face of God. And then the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. In Jesus Christ, we saw the tender, compassionate, loving, forgiving face of God. But wait, we did not see the awesome form of God. Why? Because the awesome form of God been veiled by the flesh of the incarnation. Are you listening to me? Listen to me now. What does that mean? It means in Jesus we saw more love than we saw limits. We seen more support than control. We seen, you see, more nurture than we did, listen, admonition. You see, this face was so tender, so loving, you could spit in it and he would do nothing. You didn't spit at the God at Sinai. This face was so tender, you could pluck the beard out and he did nothing. You could give him vinegar for water and he said nothing. You could accuse and blaspheme him and he just took it. You didn't do that to the God at Sinai. You see, we have become so enamored with the face of Jesus, we have forgotten that it comes out of the awesome, raw form of a God who caused lightning to dance on Sinai. And we have ended up, listen, with half a God and dysfunctional kids who have a permissive lifestyle and no longer respect and reverence God. John said, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard a voice like a trumpet. And I turned to see. And in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks, I saw one like the Son of God. He looked like Jesus. But then again, he didn't look like Jesus. His hair was as white as wool, as white as snow. He had a kingly garment on, something I had never seen him wear on the earth, from his shoulders all the way down to his feet. Round him was a golden girdle. He looked so royal, so prestigious, so kingly, so stately. His feet looked like brass, smoking, orange, bronze looking, like he had just gone through a fire. And it didn't bother him at all, even though his feet were still glowing with the fire. I looked at his eyes, and it was like looking at a flame of fire, like pools of, like lasers, man, coming out of him, lasers coming out of his eye. Like he looks right through you, man, nothing you can hide, no place to go. He sees every hidden thing naked before him. I stand out of his mouth as a sharp, two-edged sword. No quickie comebacks, no talk back to him, nothing to say to him at all. The sound coming out of his voice is like a thunder, like Niagara deafening. You can't even make out what he's saying. This is awesome. John says, he says, looking at him, at his face, he says it's like looking at the sun at noonday. You can't look, you squint, you look away, you can't see it. My God, what is this? John says, I fell at his feet as if I were dead. He, though he was equal with God, and thought it not robbery to be so, made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant after the likeness or similitude of man, and became obedient to Sinai, to the death of the cross. What we saw in Jesus was the face of God on the form of man. What is John seeing? He is seeing the face of Jesus, now reconnected to his pre-incarnation glory. All of a sudden now, the form of the awesome God is coming out of Jesus Christ. All of a sudden, Sinai and Calvary have come together in Mount Zion. Love and limits, support and control together in the awesome Christ. You can't worship the Christ of Calvary and worship the biblical Christ, because that's one component of revelation. If you are going to worship the biblical Christ, you must worship the resurrected, ascended, kingly, stately, glorified, enthroned in heaven Christ. And he must be reverenced, and he must be respected. And when you see him, any crown you have, you take off and throw at his feet.